Send this video to someone who doesn't yet believe that Israel is using mass starvation to kill off the 1.9 million Palestinians trapped in Gaza. March 2nd, 2025 is the day Israel began their mass starvation campaign against the Palestinian people. They started a total blockade of all aid and supplies from reaching the Palestinian people in Gaza. Nothing was allowed to cross the border. Israel was able to do this because they control Gaza by land, sea, and air. It's a total occupation. But the telling part about all of this is not that decision, not that day. It is what happened in Israel leading up to this decision. It'll shock you, and I'm here to help you understand, so let's get started. On January 19th of this year, Netanyahu signed a ceasefire and hostage deal, and in response, his allies in the Israeli government were furious. Israel's national security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, resigned in protest alongside some of his allies, leaving Netanyahu's coalition with much less power. They told him that they were only going to rejoin government if, and only if, he went back into Gaza, resumed bombing them to complete annihilation. That was their demand. So Netanyahu was made politically weak by his Zionist allies. And as the weeks rolled on, January turned into February, a critical budget vote was fast approaching. A vote Netanyahu needed to get, because if he didn't, the parliament would be dissolved and early elections would be triggered, and Netanyahu was not winning another election. Netanyahu needed his partners back. Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, Israel's finance minister, he needed them back, and they were not going to vote on that budget unless he went back into Gaza. Guess what he did? Netanyahu began making concessions to these people. That is why, on March 2nd, he began the mass starvation campaign on Gaza, despite the apparent ceasefire that was still ongoing, even though Israel violated the ceasefire by bombing Gaza hundreds of times. He allowed these people to rejoin government. He put Ben-Gvir and Smotrich back in his cabinet, and on March 25th, Israel fully resumed airstrikes on Gaza. The reason we know that Ben-Gvir is the one who pushed this to happen is because on January 17th, before he had even resigned, he said, all humanitarian aid, including food, water, electricity, and fuel, must be completely stopped. And that is what Netanyahu did. Remember how I said Netanyahu had also struck a hostage deal? It's true, Israel was getting their hostages back during the ceasefire. And had Netanyahu just waited 2 more weeks, he would have gotten all of them back. But no. It's mass starvation and resumption of the genocide instead. This goes to show that Zionist leaders do not care at all about the hostages, only about the narrative that they use as a tool to pursue their political goals to take Gaza's land from the Palestinian people and clear them out. Ethnic cleanse. For 80 days after March 2nd, Israel blocked all aid and supplies from reaching the Palestinian people. Zero aid made it inside, because of Israel's control over it. This caused food prices within Gaza to surge 1,400%, making it almost impossible for anyone to feed themselves. Between March and May, dozens of Palestinian children were killed by this man-made famine. When asked about it, Netanyahu said, there is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza. Which is weird, because if you ask his allies, Itamar Ben-Gvir, National Security Minister, Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, this is what they said. This is what Smotrich said on March 2nd. The decision we made last night to completely halt humanitarian aid to Gaza until Hamas is destroyed or completely surrenders and all our hostages are returned. Now we need to open those gates of hell as quickly and lethally as possible on the cruel enemy until absolute victory. In March, Ben-Gvir went to Mar-a-Lago. He met with Republican officials, Republican leaders, and when he came back, he said that he had explained to them their policy of bombing food depots in Gaza to stop the Palestinians from having any food at all. They can't store food. They don't get any food from the outside. And he said that the Republican leaders supported it. And in May, he said, it must be explained to President Trump that this humanitarian aid is endangering the lives of our soldiers. We must not give oxygen to our enemies. On April 16th, Israel's defense minister said, no one is currently planning to allow any humanitarian aid into Gaza, and there are no preparations to enable such. The reason Netanyahu doesn't say stuff like that is because he knows that the Western world, that Americans are watching him, and so he has to put on a nice propaganda face for everybody, while his allies can say hellish things, evil, cruel things like that. And no one will notice. So that's why I'm telling you. So what's going on now? Well, on May 4th, Israel began implementing Operation Gideon's Chariots, a plan to ethnically cleanse Gaza of its Palestinian inhabitants, send them to a third country, annex the entire territory, and also allow a little bit of humanitarian aid eventually through a foundation set up and backed by the United States and Israel, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Israel was going to use this foundation, funnel all the aid led into Gaza into this foundation, so Palestinians were forced to go to the camps that Israel was setting up in Gaza. Zionist soldiers began creating biometric camps within Gaza, 3 of them so far, for the GHF to run. The GHF is a tool for this ethnic cleansing campaign. They track Palestinians at these camps. I said biometric. They scan their eye data. They track them with surveillance cameras. And they also kill them. At these camps, Palestinians seeking food have been murdered, slaughtered by the soldiers and whoever, the mercenaries that Israel hired to be there. Over 1,000 Palestinians have been killed at these camps, starving, seeking aid since May. The aid Israel is currently funneling into the GHF is less than a drop in the bucket. Gaza is being starved still. There is less than a trickle of aid coming into the strip. In the past 24 hours, 14 Palestinians have been killed by starvation. Just to put it in perspective, you will hear propaganda from people claiming that the UN is blocking the aid. That's not true. UN trucks are stationed at the border, being blocked by the IDF, being blocked by Israeli protesters who show up, stand in the road to stop those trucks from moving and saving the lives of the people who need it. The people it's for. You will hear that somehow Hamas is stealing all the food, when there are many reports that have come out in the recent weeks saying that there is no evidence. U.S. intelligence says that. Israeli intelligence says that. It is their propagandists, their public-facing figures, Netanyahu especially, who repeats these claims, these lies. It's propaganda. He said it on the Nelk Boys. Israel has been starving 1.9 million Palestinians to death, trapped in a box. And I hope that now you understand how dire this situation has become. They are bombed by day. They have empty stomachs. They have no homes to live in. And they're about to be ethnically cleansed in Operation Gideon's Chariots. If you learned something, follow me for more. And share this video with someone else who might not know how Israel is starving these people. Thank you. Share this video so it goes viral, and free Palestine.